So in the last class, we talked about the guidelines of the manufacturing practices, and in that, we considered the first component of the guideline, that is premises. Okay, and as we said, all these are rather common sense. Okay, but still they are laid down and they are required to be followed by law. Okay, it is mandatory for the manufacturers to follow these guidelines. Of course, they have to come up with their own design of the premises, but it should satisfy all these guidelines. Okay, so today we'll go ahead with these guidelines just to give you a gist as to what these guidelines talk about. So after the premises, we have guidelines regarding personnel, regarding equipment. So these are the major components that we are talking about, like men, material, machine, method, which influence the quality of the product. So regarding the personnel, the guidelines that are laid down include that there must be sufficiently qualified personnel to carry on all the tasks for which the manufacturer is responsible. Okay, so that means the the manufacturer should identify that which kind of personnel are required for doing which kind of job, right? Like for instance, it's not just production, but there is quality control people also there. There are people, those who would check the in-process test would be performed, the finished product testing would also be performed, the testing would also be performed on the raw materials, on the packaging material. Okay, then there are service people also, people those who will maintain, also all those kinds of people, those who are involved in the entire process of manufacturing. Those people and their responsibilities have to be identified, and appropriately the people have to be they have to be taken into the job, but they have to be suitably qualified. And what is the most important requirement is that those people, those who join the organization, those who join the company, okay, it is required that they understand this principle of good manufacturing practice. That means the person must have an attitude, must have a thinking. Okay, his bent of mind should be that any of his smallest of all the actions, okay, no matter how small his work or his action is, that is going to influence the quality of the product. That is most important. Okay, so the personnel should be qualified. That is one point. Then individual responsibilities should be clearly defined and understood by the persons concerned and recorded as written job descriptions. Okay, so responsibilities have to be fixed, and the job has to be defined, that who is supposed to do what, and it has to be given in written. So that is called as job description, a written job description. Okay, then personnel should be aware of the principles of GMP. This is most important, that affect them, and receive initial and continuing training, hygiene instructions. Okay, that means the action of that person in any of the departments, he must understand that his actions are going to influence the quality of the product. Okay, so to effectively monitor and control all GMP documents and activities in a facility, the quality professional should have a high level of skills, knowledge, and experience. But what is more important is that just not knowledge and experience is important, but people are the utmost, they are the most important factor in the assurance of quality. Okay, so nothing, not even the finest equipment, premises, materials, or the procedures can compensate for the quality hazard represented by the low standard, ill-trained, or poorly motivated staff. Okay, so this is the point. Like for instance, we say we have guidelines regarding equipment, regarding premises, regarding the materials, and all these are the main factors which influence the quality: men, material, machine, method. Now, as far as material, as far as machine or method, that is the process is concerned, okay, you can control that. Like for instance, if you have, let us say, the raw material, if you want the particle size to be 50 micron, or if you want to use the drug particles which have a size of 100 micron, okay, so you can actually control that particle size, and you can use the drug of that particular particle size. Or for instance, if you have an equipment, if you want the equipment to operate at, let us say, 500 rpm, it will operate at 500 rpm. If you want to increase the RPM and work at 750, then it will work at 750. Okay. Or if the temperature has to be raised to, let us say, 80 degrees Celsius, then it will operate at 80 degrees Celsius also. So, or for instance, the process, for instance, if you want to go for wet granulation or you want to go for direct compression of the tablets, then you can go for the direct compression of the tablets. Now, the point is that as far as the material and the machine and the method is concerned, you can control that. But the person, the men, okay, that is most important. Now, controlling that person is the center point of these GMP. Because suppose even, okay, like for instance, as simple as cleaning operation, okay, like GMP requires that the floors should be cleaned every 30 minutes. Now that is up to the person to clean the floors. Even for cleaning, the GMPs have defined, have given the guideline that you should use a disinfectant, this disinfectant, and in this much of concentration. So you can prepare a disinfectant solution for cleaning and give it to the person for cleaning. But it is up to that person to clean. Okay? So the point is, suppose if he does not do his job properly, okay? Then in that case, the quality of the product is going to be affected. So this is most important, that the person from the top, even the topmost manager of the company, even the managing director, MD of the company, down to any of the lowest ranked personnel in the company, they must understand that their actions, their work, their activities, their documentation is going to affect the quality of the product. And they cannot just compromise. They cannot just let things go ahead, just move like that. So this is the point that is to be emphasized. Now, coming to the equipment part, the equipment guidelines, the manufacturing equipment, of course, should be capable of producing the materials, products, and intermediates that are intended and that conform to the required or specified quality characteristics. Okay, so of course, it is the job of the production department to identify, okay, to chalk out the design of the equipment, okay, the requirement of the equipment, depending upon the process which is to be used. So that is called as user requirement specifications, URS, user requirement specification. That means what the production department wants for the manufacturing of the product, the equipments that it wants. Okay, so as per the process specifications, the equipments must be bought. Okay, they have to be ordered from the production department. So that is user requirement specifications. User requirement specifications, for instance, it means suppose you want to operate a particular equipment to, let us say, at an RPM of, let us say, 1000. Okay, so you must have that particular equipment which is able to operate at 1000 RPM. That means you have to select the features in that particular equipment as per your requirement. That means you'll have to go for the purchase of such a model which offers you all those features. Okay, so this is the point. So first of all, these specification, user requirement specifications are worked out. Then the equipments which are available from the manufacturer of the equipments, they are identified and they are ordered. So that is part of design specifications. And then of course, you know that equipments going for the qualification, that is installation qualification, the operational qualification, the performance qualification. Okay, so the equipment must be designed and built so that it is possible to clean it thoroughly. Again, the point is, when you are buying an equipment, you have to ensure that it should be cleanable and easy to clean. Okay, and clean in place type of equipment should be there. Its material of construction is important. Crevices and all those things should not be there. So in fact, nowadays you already have the equipments which are GMP equipments. That means the equipment producers, the manufacturers of the equipments, they have already gone through these GMP guidelines, and nowadays these equipment manufacturers are providing, okay, that means they are manufacturing equipments and providing to the manufacturing companies such kind of equipment which will qualify for the GMP certification. So the surfaces of these equipments that come into contact with the product should have polished finishes, smooth, with no recesses, crevices, difficult corners, uneven joints, dead legs, projections, or rough welds to harbor contamination or make cleaning difficult. So this all should be absent, okay, in the equipment. the equipment surface should be smooth. That is the point, so that the dust particles, microorganisms do not accumulate in one single place. And secondly, the cleaning should be such that it is easily done. So for all these things, that is uneven joints, dead legs, wells, all these make cleaning difficult and are a source of contamination. Okay, so all this has to be taken into account. That means when the GMP team for the inspection comes, okay, now what they will and the inspectors will see in the equipment is that these equipments, okay, they should not have dead legs. That dead legs, that means below that equipment sometimes they are on the legs, okay, they stand on the legs. So that is the dead legs, that is the place where it is very hard to clean at the bottom of the equipment. So all these kinds of things should not be present in there. Okay, so that is why nowadays the equipment manufacturers, they give you the models which are GMP models. Their material of construction will also be such that between batches all manufacturing equipment must be thoroughly cleaned and disinfected or sterilized. Okay, because that same equipment, for instance, if it is the mixing equipment, you may be manufacturing one kind of batch of tablets, then after that a second batch, okay, that is of a different type of tablet, of different active constituent, okay, would be manufactured, but the mixing equipment would be the same. Okay, that same mixing equipment would be used, but it is required that earlier batch, that earlier API which was mixed in that equipment, that should entirely be clean. Not even the smallest of traces should be present. Otherwise, if the equipment is not clean and if a small amount of the API, okay, is present, it will go as an impurity in the second batch of a different API. So that is why it has to be thoroughly clean. Where it is required, it can be disinfected or sterilized as well. So this is all that we are saying is all common sense, but this is what GMP is all about. It is very much in detail about all this. So we'll just stop here and